I was working for an armored company, and they had an extra security license. So that's how I started getting back into like doing the festivals on my own. As far as the guy that was running all of it, and we did a lot of micro festivals. What I mean by micro festivals, you're talking maybe 25 to maybe 10,000 people, but no more than that, and a lot of times a lot less than that. Right. And with a lot of these micro festivals, they were getting shut down by their townships. Because a lot of them, you got to remember, this is one thing that when I always tell my guys, especially if you go to electric forest or what people perceive as magical, we're going to a place that people go to get away from people like us.
Right. Yeah.
That's their mindset. You know what I'm saying? So one of the biggest things you have to do is you have to change their mindset. Yes, you're a security guard, but you're here to help.
Yeah.
If you have a problem, I will help you. I'm not here just because you've had too much to drink and I'm going to throw you out. Right. No, you had too much to drink and your friends need to take you back to your camp.
Yeah.
I mean? And if you had too much to drink where you need an ambulance, that was the other thing doing the micro festivals. It was my call. If I say we need an ambulance, because they didn't want the publicity. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these micro festivals, they try to operate, under the radar as much as possible. And so a lot of it we started out doing was trying to save a couple of these, and one was called the Willow Ranch, which operates somewhat today. They're more of an artist park and a campground. But we had a connection that they got a hold of me and saying they were having some problems, and basically it came down to it was either going to be their deputies if you wanted an event there or private security. Right. So they brought us in, and then I had to go talk to the township, and we had to show them our credentials and some of the stuff that we've done in the past, and we were going to save this for this guy because they were threatening to take his land, and that's the other thing when I talk about dark side. I can't tell you many times that I've seen people, that just in it for a buck, and they don't care about the property owner, or they don't care about this, and they're going to milk a situation or an event as much as they can, and then just take off, and they don't have to deal with any of the repercussions. So seeing some of that stuff in the past when I was younger, one of the first things I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to try to help out some of these people that, they're in areas that, most of them were hippie festivals, but they're in areas that were, they're not real friendly to the hippies or any of that stuff. And again, my background, I didn't know too much about it. I knew a little bit about Woodstock at the time, but I didn't really care to get to know the reasons why people do what they do, especially in that certain sect. But once we started working with them and getting to know, like the property owner, this guy named Ben Willow, which is an amazing guy in himself, and they'll make a statue of him one day. No bullshit. This guy makes willow furniture, and he just he's a huge talent. He's like I don't want to say Mr. Rogers, but on the same level as Mr. Rogers, but within the hippie community,
Right.
And always trying to help people and all that jazz. And they had a promoter there, a guy named Jimmy Valentine out of Chicago. Again, another super talented guy. A bit weird, again, dealing with clients, you have to learn that some of these people may not be in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I first started out there, I had a kid that I was grooming named Adam, and they liked him better initially. So whenever dealing with them, I always allowed Adam to go talk to him.
Absolutely.
And he was in his 20s, and it's a shame because he ended up getting killed on a motorcycle.
Oh no!
Like our second year.
Yeah.
But he's again another one of those security stories that people will never know. And but he was a young guy, 23, 24 years old, but he's extremely talented and one of those guys that could drive and fix anything. So he was multi-use, and he could cook. So he was able to bring a lot to the table and a lot of talent to the table. So, when he passed the second year, I had to I don't know if I'd say eat my ego, but I had to figure out whatever it was that was turning these people off towards me. And
Right.
and you know, I always were taught that, you know, it's a firm handshake, you look in the eye, but with some people, they don't like that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to learn like little lessons like that, and we were able to groom the relationship that I ended up doing events there for probably 7 or 8 years. You know, that we did 3 or 4 events every year for them. You know, that varied from a few thousand people to, you know, 8,000 or 9,000 people. We only needed the police on a couple of levels. You know, you're always going to need an ambulance for something, and that was, you know, that's kind of what you have to do. I think with some people, you have to kind of educate exactly, you know, what is the norm or what security can do and what it can't do, and you know, especially when you start getting into licenses and contracts, and it's just you have to put certain things in there to protect you. And you know, even though, you know, an ambulance coming here, you know, does signal the neighbors that you need an ambulance.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of it's dehydrating because people don't know how to take care of each other,
Right.
you know, each other, or they don't, you know, how to look out for themselves. So I think some of those events, you know, learning now and growing my craft, so to speak, but growing, I think, as a person, you know, learning to see things differently, you know, as you know, security is not always black and white. There's always gray.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people operate, you know, in the shade of gray.
Yeah.
You know, there's always exception to the rule. You know what I mean? And sometimes I always found out, you know, especially working those places, showing that you care for somebody goes a long way, especially if that person doesn't have the ability to comprehend what's going on. And you know, with that community, like, you know, when you deal with the country crowd, you're going to have drinking, you're going to have fights. You know, with the hippie crowd, you know, you're going to have marijuana, which is, I'd rather deal with a pothead than a drunk.
Yeah.
But you're going to have some of the hallucinogens, and the biggest thing with the hallucinogens is that if your mind's not right, you know, the hallucinogens going to bring all that out.
Yeah.
And I never understood why someone would think it'd be fun to take hallucinogens in such an area where you can't control anything around you.
Yeah.
You know, the lights, the flashing, the music. I just think they would, you know,
The people. Yeah. 100%.
it just wouldn't be any fun. But you know, some of the people they go there for that, and they save up a whole year for, you know, to do that kind of stuff. And you know, sometimes you have to spend the time to walk somebody through a bad trip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know, especially if they're not, you know, if they appear to be in a medical problem, or if they get cleared by the medic, you know, other than the fact that they're high, you know what I mean? You know, you maybe not necessarily have to send them to an ambulance. You know what I mean? And you know, my biggest thing is that, you know, where's your friends?
Yeah. But
you know,
we may not see that at that moment, though.
You know, and so sometimes, you know, we would bring them back to, you know, I always, especially the micro festivals, I always demanded where security can go and let, you know, take your mask off.
Yeah.
And, you know, where you can relax behind the fire, you can, you know,
yeah,
chill out, you're not in the face of the public. So a lot of times, and as the years got on, the promoter ended up putting his bus there. You know what I mean, to show you the relationship.
Yeah.
But, you know, he was really good at it too. Him and his wife were really good at helping people that needed to be helped. And they're not bad people. You know what I mean? They just, you know, they took something that's going to bring out whatever negative in your life is.
Right.
And unfortunately, we're all going to have to sit here and deal with it. But, you know, you get sad cases. Like we had this one guy, you know, his family or his friends, and this is no bullshit, broke him out of a halfway house or something in Illinois, or a mental house or something, and they got tired of him, you know, and they told him they were taking him to the beach, and they gave him the money to get into the festival, and this ranch was sand, so it kind of looks like the beach, you know.
Yeah.
So they just dropped him off and told him to keep on walking, you know, give the money to the girl at the table and walk to the beach. And of course, we're 10 miles from the beach.
Yeah.
You know, after about 4 or 5 hours, you know, seeing this guy walking back, and it's starting to get cold, you know what I mean? It's, you know,